To discuss the impact of this and how, in fact, now relations can be normalized. Anil Trigunyat, former diplomat, is joining us at this moment. We also have Mr. Shashikant, former DGP of Punjab. Tara Karta, former Director, National Security Council Secretariat, is also joining us at this moment. I welcome all of you. Thank you so much for being here on NDTV. I want to start by asking you, Mr. Trigunyat, both India and Canada, at this moment, it seems that every single day comes with another step on the escalation ladder. On who would you put the onus, in fact, to de-escalate the matters which started with the Canadian Prime Minister making those absurd allegations as far as India is concerned?
Okay, the answer to this question lies in your question. It is who escalated it further. It is to this position. It is not from now. It has been going on between the two Trudeaus, his father and him. India has been consistently raising these issues about Khalistani extremists, terrorists, separatists there. And many of these fugitives who have gone there and been given, they've been staying there and they've been supported legally and otherwise by the government. And they have become a political force to the extent that Mr. Trudeau today is dependent on them for his own survival. And therefore, he has taken this to this level. And when he has taken it to this level, obviously India has to reciprocate and retaliate, and which is what precisely we are doing. We are also trying to protect our national interest, our sovereignty. And if there is an accusation and you do not have any evidence to the contrary or to support it, then obviously there is going to be a fallout. And the relationships in this matter, as you know, diplomacy is reciprocity.
Yes.
And therefore, I think that the onus totally, completely lies on Mr. Trudeau. It is not Canada per se. It is not the Canadian people per se. But it is Mr. Trudeau who has to think and rethink whether the kind of path he has chosen is good for him, for his country, or he wants his country to be lined up along with the countries that are sponsoring terrorism.
That's right. Tara Karta, I just want to bring you in on that. For India, whenever the argument was made about people providing or countries providing safe haven, Pakistan was on the top of the list. Today, Canada, which India has enjoyed, very, very good relationship over many, many decades, almost has been put in the same list. I mean, this is at least as scathing as the government of India could be.
That's actually the odd fact. You're absolutely right. In fact, some of the things which has happened in Canada lately, like the tableau depicting Indira Gandhi's murder, etc. And in fact, there's been a lot happening which has not been picked up by the media, but it's been going on, like the ambassador said, for some time. That won't even happen in Pakistan. A Pakistani jihadi lord has never done this kind of thing, such distasteful and absolutely abhorrent acts as threatening the embassy staff, asking, like Gurpat Singh Pannoon, what he has just said. He has said that we will give money, you give us the addresses, residential addresses of the embassy staff. These things we have never seen, not even Pakistan has done it. So it is extremely surprising that, because, I'd like to point out to you that Canada's own terrorism law does not permit any of this. I can read it out if you want. It defines terrorist activity as, any attempt for intimidate the public with respect to its security, economic security, or to compel a person, government or organization. This has gone beyond compelling. So Trudeau, if he wants to act, has the anti-terrorism law behind him to let him arrest these people. He doesn't. You've got Interpol, which most of these people are identified. We have given Interpol red corner notices.
Yes.
And you are obliged to follow that. So there is international law and there is national law.
Mr. Shashikant, if I can bring you in, sir, the most impact is on the community there, specifically from Punjab. A large number of people who go to Canada, the diaspora there, and also in terms of what these people, those who are accused by India as Khalistani sympathizers, whatever they are trying to do, they are trying to ignite some kind of sort of passion or revive the militancy as far as Punjab is concerned. taking that in mind, sir, as for the former DGP of Punjab, there are so many people wanted by the Indian law authorities who are finding safe haven as far as Canada is concerned. How can you explain to our viewers, sir, how does this whole nexus as far as the Khalistanis, these extremists, it works from Canada, and how is it stoking or trying to stoke, in fact, trouble in Punjab?
Well, before I talk about Punjab, the trouble that's brewing up for us out here, just want to say one thing for Trudeau. He has been talking about credible allegations about trying to give credible proof instead of talking all in the air here and there. And one thing I'd like to say, the way they are escalating the problem out there, students have gone there, they are being asked to participate in this Khalistan movement, Khalistan agitation, demonstration, etc. And they are being told that if they do it, then there is all possibility of getting their political asylum in Canada. Can you beat it? It amounts to direct, not only interference, but instigation or instigation there. And for us, for a long time now, money has been coming there. Arms have been coming here. We've got sleeper cells here, and their handlers are mostly in Canada now. Earlier they were in Pakistan, and now I think except one or two persons, everybody has moved out to Canada. Is why Trudeau is trying to play with our rights, our sovereignty, and he's talking about his sovereignty of his country. What was that? All the time, whatever he is doing is all aimed at India to instigate and to ensure that the trouble brews up here. It's just not acceptable. Thank you.
Before I go to the diplomats, I just want one more, a clarity from you. These killings that we are seeing in Canada, most of them gangsters, people associated with this Khalistan movement, by various names and by various forces. In your appreciation, sir, in the way that you have seen, in fact, police force working, is it, inter-gang rivalry taking over because they are taking out each other, which the Canadians are trying to blame on India? Mr. Shashikant?
Oh, sorry, it's for me, yeah. Look, there is a very close relationship between the terrorists, militants, and the guys who are indulging in drug smuggling. It is not only there, it's all over the world. Most of the money which is being used for this kind of purpose and against any country to instigate criminals, etc., there's all drug money. And there has been clear evidence, and government of India has been sharing this information. I know it because in the case I have been pursuing, they had asked information and we had provided information about, at that point, about 5 years back, 13 persons who were involved in this kind of activities. Ministry of External Affairs tried their level best. Canadians just didn't budge. They just didn't move. And now they're talking about it. Now it's good that Vishnu has accepted that Sukha was killed at his behest. Otherwise, they have put this blame also on our country. And again, why Sukha has been killed? You know, this Nijar guy was heading one of the gurdwaras in that country in the BC. And it was basically that fight, this confrontation, which started about who's gonna get the upper hold of that particular Gurdwara, Sari Gurdwara. He started Sari Gurdwara. It started from there. From how come it takes another dimension? It was fight within these groups,
yes.
And then terrorists came in, and then he was killed. Militants came in, he was killed, and why blame India?
Absolutely, and on that, Mr. Jagoniath, we've seen how Canada, and that is what the foreign minister of Canada said, that they have spoken to their allies and specifically spoke about United States, Australia, Britain and New Zealand. We have seen at least two statements coming in by United States and also by Australia, on which they've said that they're keeping a very close eye on what is happening between India and Canada. Should India, in your appreciation, also start some sort of a diplomatic outreach to its friendly countries, put the picture out for them as well of how Canada is going against every principle as far in the garb of free speech, by in fact giving safe haven to such people, those who are against the country, against India, are inimical to India?
Well, I think they have already done. The démarche has been made with all the friendly countries, G7 countries, They understand what is India's position is, and India has not said, and today I think Arindam also reiterated that in the press briefing, that if they provide us the evidence, we will look into it. We will help, because India is the only country that has suffered for 40 years from terrorism and these kind of insurgencies that are fomented from outside. So we understand that how to take care of our things, but at the same time, when countries under the garb of friendship continue to, promote secessionist activities from their soil, then it becomes increasingly difficult to deal with them. And therefore, now the Canadians have raised the bar so much, and therefore it is necessary for India to also make its diplomatic outreach, which I'm sure, whatever I know that they have already reached. And that's the reason you have seen there is a muted response from even the Five Eyes partners of Canada. And therefore, because see, without an evidence has to be incontrovertible. And
That's
if it
right.
is not there, it's simply by some phone calls or here or there, if they are going to get that, it's not going to take you anywhere.
That's right.
India has, on the contrary, provided the hardcore evidence to them, on which they have taken no action in last so many years. And I think this is mostly to do with the Trudeaus themselves.
Tarak Artha, it's not a surprise, or at least it is even in Canada, and people are talking about possibly Justin Trudeau using this as a distraction to the problems. He's had a very tough year as the leader of that country. There is price rise. There are other issues that his country is facing at this moment. So he possibly is using it as a distraction at this moment. But this is also, in a way, the kind of killings that are taking place on the Canadian soil, putting his own country at risk as far as security is concerned.
Absolutely. I think that we have seen that happening to another state, that if you provide shelter to terrorists, inevitably they come back and bite you in the foot. That's been proven several times over. However, there's one thing I just want to point out. When we had this mutual expulsion of diplomats, Canada named our diplomat as an RNAW agent. You don't do that. We didn't. We just said, and another diplomat has been. Then we followed the rules of etiquette in such matters. Canada did not. That was another thing. It is never done. If you remember, the US was furious when it happened in Pakistan. However, that's another story. See, there is also another angle. I completely agree with the fact that there is a lot of intergang rivalry going on. But please remember, this has also surfaced in the UK, it surfaced in Australia. And if you remember, when this Ripudan Malik, when he was shot last year,
Yes.
and the investigation into that went on, he had in fact praised Prime Minister Modi. And then he was accused of being, being a turncoat, and then he was killed. That is one. And second is, there was a couple of, I don't recall the exact date, when one TV anchor who spoke against Amritpal Singh was in fact threatened and all sorts of things. And some of those numbers came from some very suspicious sources. I'm not going to say more than that. So there is a wider angle involved, which I think we need to look at, because someone is also trying to spoil relations between the two countries.
Okay, I'm completely out of time, but Mr. Trigunath, very quickly, if you can sum it up for us, what from here on do you see as the immediate need for de-escalation? What steps can be taken? What do you see in future, and is it going to have an impact as far as trade between India and Canada is concerned?
Well, I don't think the trade is going to be directly impacted, or for that matter, the overall relationship in that sense. But G2G relationship definitely is seeing a downhill trajectory, at least until such time that Mr. Trudeau really makes it up. It's very important. I don't know if he can do that or he will do that because of his domestic political compulsions. But at the same time, I don't see at the government-to-government level that there is going to be a great improvement in the short term.
So basically, to sum it up, the onus now lies on the Canadians to, in fact, they started the escalation ladder to de-escalate and take some steps back so that India can also, in fact, go back from its position. Otherwise, you are only forcing India's hand at much stringent measures to be taken in times to come. Thank you so much to all my guests for joining us and giving us more perspective as far as this developing story is concerned.